Yeah, they ain't doing that. It ain't for club members only unless open to everyone.
Okay, go down to my picture, click on me, and it's gonna say invite up. So invite me up to the stage real quick. There we go. Okay. Now go ahead and make me a moderator, and then now you can start doing.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Vernon Shazier, aka Gospel Cowboy, Senior Pastor River Life Fellowship Church. Thank you for tuning in and spending this time with me. As always, when you come to Bible study, you ought to have something to write with, something to write on, and your Bible. Did you say I'm muted? Can y'all hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on Facebook. Can y'all hear me on Facebook? Okay, all right, I got a thumbs up. Let's get it started. God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your word, for its ability to change, transform, and give us direction for our life. Let our time tonight be productive and most importantly, transformative. All right, again, I'm Pastor Vernon Shazier, Senior Pastor of River Life Fellowship Church located in the beautiful Treasure Coast of South Florida, Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach. If you're ever in our part of town, please stop by for an in-person worship experience. It will bless your life. Okay, I hope you have your Bibles. I hope you have something to write with and something to write on. Uh, Good evening to those on Facebook, to those on Zoom, to those who are on Clubhouse, YouTube, however you are plugging in and tuning in tonight. Good evening. I hope you've had a champion day so far. Now, we are in episode 3 of this series that I've chose to entitle To Whom Much is Given, Biblical Stewardship. And it has been my intention to get you to think and look at stewardship differently and to present to you some new topics and areas of stewardship to consider that I rarely hear taught or preached about. And so in episode 1, we talked about biblical ecology. And I began there because on page 1 of the Bible, that's where it begins. It says that God created the heaven and the earth. Why did he create it? Who did he create it to? Who did he give it to? Who did he ask to steward and to manage it? God created a world. He created the earth. And he put everything in there that was needed and necessary, gave it to man. Man was given paradise, and he gave man not a suggestion, but a command to manage it and be fruitful and to multiply and be a good steward. We have defined stewardship as someone who is given authority to manage something that belongs to someone else. We began there so that you can begin with the right ideal, the right thoughts, the right process when you even think about the topic of stewardship. If you're looking at it from a biblical or a Christian perspective, God is the owner. We are stewards, and as stewards, again, we've been entrusted to take care of what God has created and He's given to us. And biblical ecology is a topic that, again, I said it before, I've never heard, I can't say that it hasn't, but I've never heard it taught and I've never heard it preached about. Our responsibilities as steward to take care of the earth. But it is a topic that needs to be addressed, taught on. People need to be challenged in the church to be better stewards because just turn on the television, read the newspaper. Our oceans are being overfished, our waters are being polluted, our air is being polluted, our forests are being stripped. We are consuming more and more. Our food, in many cases, is not healthy. Uh, why is this? Because we have not been good stewards over the earth. We're not being good stewards over our ecosystem. And so I challenge you to give that some thought. And someone asked the question when we was discussing biblical ecology, can I make a difference by myself? I thought that was a great question, and my response to that question was yes, you can make a difference. You start with your property, where you live at, whether you own or rent. Be a good steward of that plot of land where you reside. Now, I know some people who are good stewards of a home, but when they are in the possession or renting from someone else, they don't take care of somebody else's property because they don't have the same mindset. But here's what we know: God does not say or suggest or expect us to be good stewards over what we, quote unquote, own and be poor stewards if we're renting or leasing. No, whatever we have, whether we're in the role of a owner, a buyer, or we're in the role of a person who's leasing or renting, you are responsible to be a good steward over it. Why is that important? Well, I'll continue to remind us, coram Deo, the gaze of God is always upon us. And God, like man, learns. Well, I ain't gonna say that. That would be not theologically sound because God don't learn anything. God is a know-it-all. He knows everything. But God sees your behavior, and your behavior is an indication, in many cases, whether you are mature enough and ready to be given more to be a steward over. A lot of times people say, well, if I get this or if I get more, when I get this or when I get more, I'll be a better steward. When I get my own house, if I get a job promotion, I had a member come up to me one time after church and she said, Pastor, if I hit the lottery, I'm going to give the church the money to build a nice facility. I said, okay. and I just smiled and went on. I couldn't help it, y'all. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. That was Sunday. Monday when I got in the office, I went down to the finance office. I said, please, share with me sister so-and-so giving record. She had given less than $200 in 10 months. Now, what's the point? What's my point? If in 10 months she hasn't, and she has a nice job. I know she has a nice job. If in the 10-month period you've given less than $200, is there anybody who's listening tonight? Y'all, y'all can communicate back to me in these comment boxes. Do you think that if she hit the lottery, she's going to get a church the money to build a building, to build a doghouse? I don't think so. So the whole idea of I'll do better when I get more, I've not seen that work out. In fact, I read somewhere that he or she who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. And so God is aware of if you are ready and responsible to handle more. And so I love that question. I don't remember who asked the question. Can one person make a difference? Can I make a difference? Yes, because if you begin to take care of your property, you can challenge your neighbor on both sides of you and across the street from you to do the same. You can say to them, hey, let's make sure that our street, let's make sure that our block is well taken care of, is well manicured. We keep our lawns cut. The garbage cans don't stay out by the side of the road for 4 days. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You got neighbors like that. Some of you may be one of those neighbors. Garbage man come on Monday, it's Thursday. The garbage can still out by the road. And you come on every day, pull in your driveway or your garage and just ignore that garbage can. And so we moved from looking at stewardship in regards to how we take care of the earth, how we take care of our plot of the land and being able to influence others to, in episode 2, we looked at that passage where Jesus said that the poor will be with you always in the New Testament. And then we looked at Deuteronomy 15 in the Old Testament, where again, God says that the poor will be with you always, and he says that the people of God is supposed to behave towards the poor with open hands. In other words, the church is supposed to be generous. We're supposed to be a giving people because God is a giving God, and God is a generous God, and God often engages us and deals with us with an open hand. But we dug deep into this question, why are people poor? And we really looked at America, but a lot of what we discovered and talked about America is true in other countries too, but our context is America. Why are people poor? And we gave some reasons that the Bible gave. I shared with you what the Bible had to say about why people are poor. One was a result of calamities. This is when something happens that's out of somebody's control. A father gets killed. He's the sole breadwinner. Mother's left with 2 kids or 3 kids. And she has to now try to figure out, how do I handle the financial responsibility? And I just lost my husband. Not only my husband, I lost the primary source of income. The Bible talks about widows. The Bible talks about orphans. So basically, a calamity can happen in someone's life and literally change their financial situation. Like, life is filled with eventful moments. You can be up and you can be down in a matter of seconds. Yeah. Another reason the Bible gave us for why people are poor is oppression. and exploited. Why should this be important to us? Why should we care? Because we should be concerned if any group of people, anybody is oppressed or exploited. And we should be concerned no matter who the group of people are. But, I'm pretty sure some of you have heard of the acronym, um, not in my backyard, or that terminology, not in my backyard. What that means is if it's not happening or impacting your life, if it's not happening and impacting your neighborhood, or it's not happening and impacting your group, the group of people that you're a part of, the ethnic group you're a part of, you turn your head, you dismiss it. But I warn you about doing that, because an injustice that's happening to one group of people that is ignored, it can evolve and move into another group of people. And so we should be concerned as Christians about anyone or any group of people who are oppressed or unfairly treated. God is. Right now, we have an intense battle going on and some heated discussions taking place. How do we deal with all of the immigrants that are trying to enter America? That's a tough question. That's a tough issue. And we need to be praying as Christians that God will give our political leaders, those who are in power, to make those decisions, who have to make those decisions, that he will give them wisdom and guidance. Because the tension is you have to have some control over your borders. At the same time, you have people who are fleeing from other countries because they are oppressed as a result of exploitation, a result of severe poverty, and they're looking for a new way of life, a better way of life. And so this is not an easy issue that we're dealing with in America right now. And so I suggest that you put that on your prayer list. Add that to your prayer list. Because you can't just have an open door and let everybody just enter in. At the same time, we got thousands. Some reports I'm hearing are millions of people from different parts of the United States trying to enter our country. Many are poor, many are oppressed, yet we need to have some kind of control over the borders. You see the tension, and you see why that is not a issue or item that's easy to deal with. But as the Christians, we need to be praying that God will give our political leaders wisdom and compassion. Okay, I'm going to give you one more and remind you of one more reason the Bible says that people are poor, lazy. Some versions use the word slothful. That means you're allergic to work, you're anti work. You have a sense of entitlement. You feel that the world owes you. or you're always looking at how to get something for nothing, those type of people normally stay in the class of poverty. And here's what's dangerous about it. In many cases, those type of people pass on the same mindset and mentality to their children and sometimes their grandchildren. That's how we end up with generational problems. And if you remember, and I'm getting ready to shift to episode 3 Sunday, I say in America, we pretty much have 5 levels of classes we put people in: high class, upper middle class, working class, poor class. Whatever class you're in, walk in a spirit of humility and gratitude, because the class you're in today can change tomorrow. If you're in a position to help someone who is less fortunate, do what the Bible says: deal with them with an open hand, be kind, be generous. I mean, do what you can. And you know what you can do and you know what you can't do. If you're in a position, don't look down on those who are in the classes that is considered beneath yours. Again, the class you're in today can change tomorrow. And if you're down in the working class or the poor class, don't throw the towel in. With you doing what you can and trusting God and living out biblical principles, God will elevate you. God can elevate you to a higher class. He can do what no one else can do. I'm a witness. I know what it's like to be high class, upper class, and I know what it's like to be down in the poor class. I know what it's like to be in the middle class. I think at different seasons of my life, I've lived in every class. I've spent some time in every class. That's why I say, no matter what class you're in, try to live life with a spirit of humility and gratitude and thanksgiving, because it can change. Why did I share that with you? I share that with you so that you can deal with some myths. What are some myths? That everybody who's poor is poor because they're lazy, because they're slothful. No, that's not why everybody's poor. Neither is it true that everybody's poor because they are oppressed. Neither is it true that everybody's poor because of some calamity. There's a multitude of reasons of why a person or a group of people are poor. And sometimes we know the reason, sometimes we don't. So be careful how you look at, how you judge, and how you treat people. Now come here so I can deal with what I talked about Sunday. And I hope y'all have some good questions tonight. I have some that was sent in, but I'm ready for y'all Sunday. I had more in my bucket to pour out Sunday than I had time. Let me give you your first quiz question, then we're going to talk about the value of leftovers. Um, what was the name of the garden where Judas betrayed Jesus? As Jesus approached his moment of passion, as Judas got close to his purpose, the reason why the Father sent him, he was in a location with his disciples. And it was in that location that Judas betrayed him with a kiss. Okay, Brother Lamar, you got it right. Gethsemane. Anybody ever had a Gethsemane experience? Someone you thought was a friend, someone you had in your friend category, your buddy category, your brother or sister from another mother category, and you had a Gethsemane experience. They betrayed you, broke your heart. Y'all remember what Houdini, the rap group, says, friends? How many of us have them? Friends is a word we use every day, but most of the time we use it in the wrong way. Now, you can look the word up again and again, but the dictionary doesn't know the meaning of friends. And if you ask me myself, I couldn't be much help because a friend's somebody you judge for yourself. Some are okay, some are real cool, some keep you fine, treat you fine, some come around when they need some money. Homeboys through the winter, summer, spring, and fall. Then there's some you wish you never met at all. Yet these are the people that we call friends. She shook your hand and stole your man. It happened so fast, it had to be a plan. I'm going to stop right there. Some of y'all may have a flashback of your Houdini days, club days. Got it right, Brother Lamar, got it right. Sister Gwen got it right. Sister Sharon got it right. Sister Patricia. All right. Sunday I talked about the value of leftovers. Let's get this started. Let's get going. Again, I open up talking about my mother's cooking system. My mother was a single mother raising 4 kids. In the daytime, her daytime job was working for Broward County School Board. Her nighttime job was working for Sun Sentinel newspaper. And so what my mother would do was she would cook a surplus. So on Monday, we had enough food prepared for Monday, and we had a surplus for Tuesday. The surplus, we call that leftovers. Okay? Metaphorically speaking, what I was teaching you Sunday and what I want to drill down deeper into tonight is if you're going to move towards financial freedom, if you're going to improve your financial situation, you need to understand the value of leftovers. You need to work to create leftovers. And that is challenging. Why is that challenging? Because that goes against the American way. What is the American way? I'm glad you asked. The American way is make $10, spend $10. Make $10, spend $15. That's the American way. The American dream. Many people are chasing the American dream. And in their pursuit of the American dream, they make bad financial decisions. So if you missed the message Sunday, let me give it to you again. This foundational principle, this truth. Without leftovers, you have nothing to save. Without leftovers, you have nothing to invest. And tomorrow is coming. So what would have happened if my siblings and I would have just been greedy, so greedy that we not only ate what mama had portioned for us for Monday, but we was greedy and we ate up the surplus too, and then Tuesday come, and mama's at work at the newspaper, and there is nothing in the refrigerator to warm up. That's the financial reality for many people. And that is, we have allowed the American way of living, the Western philosophy, to have us in a dungeon when it comes to finance. I mean, just look at it. Why do I say it's the American way? Because it is. It's our government operates that way. Our government operates in a deficit. Our government is not frugal. Our government is not financially stable. Our government spends more than it's supposed to spend. Our government cannot balance its budget. Our government is financially, fiscally irresponsible, and what they try to do to make up for it is to continue to increase taxes, continue to come up with more and more fees. And in addition to coming up with more and more fees and taxing people more and more, we just go into the factory and say, just print money. just hey, turn the machine on. Just print money. That's what we're doing. And so that's how the government works, and that's how American people live their life and manage and steward their purse as well. Our government is in trillions of dollars of debt. Every year, they spend more than they bring in. And they have to come up with all these, I won't even call them games or tricks anymore, because they're not tricking anybody anymore. All of us are aware, hey, we need money. We don't have enough money to pay our bills. Okay, a few people go in a room and have a meeting and figure out, well, which fees can we raise, or let's create some new fees. Oh, let's see what group of people can we increase their taxes. I have a problem. Just me now. You may have different opinion, different thought, and you have the right to. I have a problem with our system. How is it that a few people, a small group of people, can go into a room and decide that they're going to tax one group of people differently than another group of people? I understand why the wealthy have some complaints. I understand why those. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a fair system. What do I have to compare it to? I compare it to God's system. I compare it to the Bible. The Bible is here. God did not say, okay, those of you who make $30,000 or less, I want your tithe to be 10%. Those of you who make $70,000, between $70,000 and $40,000, I want your tithes to be 15%. Those of you who make over $100,000 to 250,000, I want your taxes to be 25%. Those of you who make over $1 million, I want yours to be 26. Those of you who make over $5 million, I want your taxes to be 38%. No, he said everybody pay 10. To me, that's fair. What are your thoughts? To me, that's fair. Because at the end of the day, those who are making more are contributing more. Those who are making less are contributing less. So you got to. I'm digging deep into this issue, because we have to ask ourselves, why are we in the position that we're in? Why do we behave? Why do we treat money and manage our money the way that we do. It's because of our financial philosophy. And it starts at the top, it starts with the government. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to figure out how to get to the place where you have some leftovers. And I can tell you, it's a journey. It's not something that can happen overnight for everybody. Here, I give you my system. Now, I just give you my system, and you can do whatever you want to do. I I tithe 10%. I save 20%. I try to live out of 70%. That's my system because I can't save or I can't invest if I don't have no leftovers. Now, that's my system, but have my numbers always been there? Those have not always been my numbers. I started tithing within a year after I gave my life to Christ. But I was not able to save no 20% at that time. I was not able to live out of 70%. I needed the whole 90 to make it. And that may be where you are today. I don't know where you are. All I'm saying to you, you need to have a financial goal. But first of all, you need to adopt and embrace a healthy financial philosophy. What philosophy am I suggesting that you live by? You need leftovers. You don't eat and spend every dime you make. Tear up, get rid of, get you a new philosophy. The American philosophy is not a healthy philosophy. It will keep you in debt. You don't have to have a certain car, a certain house, certain shoes, certain clothes, certain bags to be valuable, to be somebody. But we have been tricked by advertisement, by marketers, by the wealthy, by professional athletes, by a whole list of people that, hey, these are the things that make you valuable, make you somebody. When the truth is, it's a lie, it's a myth. How do I know? Because I work with people who make $30,000 and I work with people who make $10 million. And can I tell you this here? I got $10 million friends who are living paycheck to paycheck just like $50,000 friends. They're just buying bigger toys. See, if your philosophy is wrong, it doesn't matter how much you make. It just, all it is. See, a lot of the people you envy, I hope I'm helping somebody tonight. Many of the people you envy, who you see living in a big, nice house, driving a luxury car, have all these designer bags. Every time you see them, they got a different bag. Every 3 years they getting a new car. It looks like they have it going on. Can I tell you that many of them are living paycheck to paycheck? And yes, they may make $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. Yes, there are people who make $20 million a year who live paycheck to paycheck. They just have bigger toys than you. And they live in paycheck to paycheck because they have the same philosophy. of make 10 and spend 15. They're in debt just like the person who's in debt who makes $30,000 or $50,000. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, they know I work with NFL players and professional players. I'm a chaplain for the NFL. How did these guys just mismanage and blow their money? The same way you mismanage and blow your 50,000 or your 100,000 or your 30,000 every year. They spend it on on liabilities just like you spend it on liability. They buy jewelry, they buy they buy a car that costs $80,000 and then go and put $100,000 worth of accessories in it. That they would never get that value out of it. They just like you. Everybody's got the same philosophy. If you have that poor philosophy, it doesn't matter whether you make 50,000, 100,000, or 20 million. You don't have any leftovers. I got a question. Give it to me. Come on. The question is, how does this relate to Luke, the passage in Luke's gospel, to whom much is given, much is required? How it relate to, it's a stewardship issue. What he's saying is, whatever God gives you, whatever you're given, when it comes to stewardship, much is required. And the more you are given, the tougher it is, the more challenging it is to meet that requirement. Mm-hmm. What do I mean? There's some people who, when they experience a tremendous, like a big increase of pay, a salary, they can't handle it. See, Jesus didn't say it was impossible. He said it's hard for a rich man. He said it's hard for a rich man because they love things. They love the blessings more than they love the blesser. They love more than the giver. It's hard. I remember some years ago, we had a young lady at the church. She did hit the lottery. And boy, she came by the church and, made promises. That was probably about 23 years ago. We still haven't seen her since she left that office and made those promises. See, what I'm telling you, I'm aware that it's not easy. But I'm trying to help you understand why it's not easy and why it's so challenging. Is because of our context. We live in a context where we literally, you don't even realize, we don't realize what we do to each other. We live in a context in which we literally apply pressure to each other. It happens in families. It happens in all types of groups. Your family is a group. The people who you work with is a group you're connected with. A sorority, fraternity, all that is a group, And so here's what I mean when I say we put pressure. We put expectations out there, or we put roles or parts that we expect people to play, roles we expect people to play. Like in some of my research last week, I read this here that some of the people who are in the worst financial situations are doctors and lawyers. It listed some other professionals too. And here's the reason it gave. It said because people expect a doctor or a lawyer to drive luxury automobiles. people expect certain professions, to live lavish, to look like they just big balling and doing it all. And the pressure to meet those expectations cause them to get in debt. Have you ever been in a situation where a neighbor does something, gets something new, and then you see another neighbor do it, then you see another neighbor do it? It happens every day. Two neighbors put their kid into a private school, and then some of the other neighbors start feeling the pressure that they need to put their child into private schools. I've seen it happen in families. One sibling gets a new car, and the other sibling like, well, I don't want them to seem like I'm being left behind, or and that sibling goes and get a new car that they don't need, or a new car that they can't afford. We do this to each other every day, and a lot of times we're not conscious of it. And listen here, I'm not by no any means. I'm not suggesting that you walk around here looking like you poor and you don't have it. You ain't making it. All I'm saying is what I said to you Sunday. To live within your means and be comfortable and okay. Here's why you need to be comfortable and okay. Here's why I'm comfortable and okay. I shared with you some of my stories Sunday. I shared with you again. When I moved back home after graduating from grad school, I was renting a house. I was renting that house for $1,500 a month. Okay? We had a one income household. My wife had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. We had two kids. I was making enough money to pay my bills and pay my tithes. I have no leftovers. I talked to my wife. I said, listen, if we buy a house, we can buy a house and the mortgage will be half of this. Well, you need to save in order to be able to get a house. We called my mother, talked to her. We went to Walmart, bought some air mattresses, went and lived with my mother, slept on them pumped up air mattresses, saved $30,000, went and bought us a house that now we had home ownership and the mortgage was less than renting. I was on the golf course when my house was being built. I told two of my friends I'm having a house built. Friend number one asked me, what's the square footage? I said 1,600 square feet. Friend number two looked at me and asked me the question, that's all? They had houses one had a house 3,500 square foot, one had a house 5,000 square foot. I said, that's all I want to afford. That's all I want to pay for. And I was okay. And you know why I was okay? Because not 1 month, not 1 week, not 1 day did either one of them or anybody else show up when it's check writing time, bill paying time to help me. Not 1 month nobody rung my doorbell. Not 1 month nobody sent me a check in the mail. I had to pay them bills by myself. So it didn't bother me what nobody care. About what nobody think. I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my house financially healthy and keep me with my sanity. Listen here. I know I'm preaching to the choir tonight. Somebody give me some amens. Nobody's coming to help you. You can be trying to fit in with this group or that group and competing with your brothers and your sisters and co-workers and then trying to impress people. But nobody, who comes on bill paying day? Has anybody show up? Your sister, your brother who you're competing with, do they show up if you're short? Your co-workers who you're trying to impress, do they show up if you're short? Your sorority sisters, your fraternity brothers, your large brothers, do any one of them show up when you short? It's a rhetorical question. No. And the truth is, most of them are short too. Because they're trying to impress you. And here's another reason why I want y'all to take this so serious. Listen here. I've been in ministry over 20 years. I've been life coaching almost 20 years. My wife and I have been counseling couples for years. Listen to me. Listen to me very clear. When you have serious financial problems, they bleed into every area of your life. Do you hear what I'm saying? When you have serious financial problems, they will impact every area of your life. You and your wife, you and your husband, you and your significant other, y'all start having arguments about things you wouldn't normally argue about. You're arguing about the garbage didn't get taken out. You arguing about little small things. That really is not what's bothering you. What's bothering you is the money problems. Some of you right now, arguments and disputes are taking place in your relationships, but that's not the core problem. What you arguing about, what you're bickering about, what y'all cursing and fussing about, that's not the core problem. The core problem, the real problem is your money ain't right. Your money funny. Because you don't have any leftovers, because you're living above your means. And again, I'm going to say it again and again, I say it again. Nobody is showing up on check writing day. So for that friend of mine who said, that's all, you think I cared? He ain't come by 1 month. If I would have went and got a $3,000 square foot house, do you think he was coming by every month to help me pay my mortgage? So why do I need to impress him? Why do I need to compete with other people? They're not going to help me. What's the question? Come on, bring it. Y'all come on. Come on. What's the question? Okay, great question. Let me repeat it so our audience hear it. I lived a life of stewardship, accountability, but because of calamity, I was forced to use all my leftovers. How do I reclaim leftovers while I'm living hand to mouth? I've been there and I've walked in the shoes. You just have to be frugal, live within your means, and you have to build your way back up. And God would help you. Listen here, in 2007, when the real estate market shifted, in 6 months, I lost my whole savings, $30,000. And I had to build my way back up. But you need to have a healthy financial philosophy. You need to know what God says about money and stewardship, and you need to put it into practice. You can bounce back. You can come back up. I'm telling you. I'm not making this up. It's true. I've lived in every class except I haven't been up there to the top, but I believe God can take me one day to a $10 million man, But I haven't gotten that high. But I know what it is to be poor class, working class, middle class, upper middle class. And I know what it is for your class to change and have to work back up, way back up. I was an engineer for Motorola. I quit my job, went in the dry cleaning business. It didn't work out. I had to start over. I was so distraught over failing as an entrepreneur. I just was sitting home, didn't know what my next move would be. I got a phone call from the school board telling me that I had an interview on Friday. I didn't put no application in to the school board. My mother went and put an application in to the school board. But this the thing now, y'all listen. My mother took it upon herself to go apply for me a job at the school board without talking to me, and it was a job that only paid $7.60. I'm like, Mama, what am I going to do with a $7.60 job? I had a $40,000 job at Motorola. She, she said, son, you need to do something in order to get back on your feet. She said, just get on your feet. Just get in there. The only reason I went to the interview is because of my mama. I didn't want to embarrass my mama. My mama asked a friend for a favor. That's the only reason I even showed up. And the only reason I took the job is because I didn't want to make my mama look bad. That $7.60 job paid me a little over $800 a month. My mortgage was $830. After I paid my tithes, I didn't have enough to pay the mortgage. Sean, my wife, had to make up the difference to pay the mortgage. Dr. Glover did a series on stewardship. I think it was like a 3-part series on stewardship. I asked another brother who was also a member at Mount Bethel at that time, and I had asked him this question. I say, what are your thoughts about this tithing thing? His response to me was, Shazier, we don't make enough money to tithe. Well, I wasn't making but $760. I feel like, okay, what do I have to lose? I told him, we've been joking about this over 20 years. I say, Darrell, if y'all want to know his name, Darrell Brunson. Yeah, I'm telling him, I'm putting him out. His name, Darrell Brunson. Darrell Brunson said, Shazier, we don't make enough money to tithe. I said, well, Darrell, I'm going to try it out. His response to me was, you try it out and let me know how it works for you. I started tithing the next paycheck. I tithed for a year. After about a year of tithing, a job posted for the Special Investigative Unit of the school board. I saw the job postman. And I saw the pay. It wasn't nothing but the Holy Spirit. It's like literally my football coach came to my mind. And some say, call Coach Gray. Call Coach Gray. And I'm like, okay. I called Coach Gray. He worked in the school system. He had been in the school system for years. I said, Coach Gray, How you doing, man? He said, I'm good. I'm good. He said, I'm good. What's going on, V Dog? He called me by my nickname. That was my nickname, y'all. That was my BC days, not V Dog. I've been delivered. It ain't V Dog no more. Okay. He said, "What's going on, V Dog?" I said, "Coach, they got this job. They posting. Do you know anybody, man, who working in this department that can help me get this job?" He said, "Which school is it at?" I told him the name of the school, and the next words out of his mouth was, "Do you want that job?" I said, "Yeah, man, I want the job. That's why I'm calling you." He said, "Be at my office in the morning." God forgive me. I asked for forgiveness in advance. I called in sick. I went to Coach Dre's job. Coach Dre took me over to the school. We waited for the principal. We walked into the principal office. I didn't know Coach Gray had a relationship with the principal. Me and Coach Gray walked into the principal's office. Coach Gray said good morning to the principal and said, "This is the guy you need to hire for the job you're advertising." The man hired me for the job. I went from making $7.60 an hour to $21 an hour. I put God's principles to work. I live with a healthy financial philosophy. I tried to be frugal, both my wife and I. I'm sharing that to say to you and anybody what I've been saying Sunday and tonight. Your class can change overnight. It can go up or it can go down. And if you get knocked down, you can get back up with the Lord's help. So whoever sent that question in, keep trusting God. Do what the Bible says. Be frugal. Be the best steward you can over what you have. Don't try to impress other people, compete with other people. You can get back up, baby. Whew. I hope I helped somebody tonight. My time is up. Did I help anybody? If I help you, just type in, "You help me." You just put somebody put in the comment box, "You help me." But I thank y'all for spending this time with me. As you know, this is a spiritual investment in your life. The worst, the cruelest thing you can do to yourself as a Christian is to neglect the study of God's word. It's to fail to put God's principles in action. When you do that, you are inflicting cruelty upon yourself. Thank those of you who tuned in by way of Clubhouse, those who tuned in by way of Zoom, YouTube, Facebook. Hey, I'm Vernon Shazier, a.k.a. the Gospel Cowboy. I hope you have a champion week, the rest of your week.